visitors to the ER.
Do these guys have any idea what they are talking about?
Get squared away.
Spiritual.
Get squared away.
Emotional.
Get squared away.
Mental.
Get squared away.
Physical.
The podcast that'll help you get squared away.
All right, we are back with Dustin and Martin. What is up, my dudes?
What's going on? How are you?
Good, man. Hey, you inspired me this week there, Dustin.
What's that?
You had some, I don't know what it was, but you were working out and you did some snowy filter or something. And I'm like,
yeah.
Damn, he's in North Carolina. It's not that damn cold out there. Then,
it was snowing, though. I was looking at snow. I had my garage door open, and I was looking at the snow, yeah.
Oh, wow. So that inspired me. I had a couple workouts in my garage this week, so I did legs. Except
Nice.
It was like 13 degrees here, so.
It wasn't that cold. I'm not that cool. I just churched it up.
Oh, man. Yeah, I look like an abominable snowman.
It was pretty cold, though. Yeah, it was a real cool view. The snow was coming down, so I had to kick the door open because it's just like fresh and clean and like filtered air, man, when it's snowing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was not.
Yeah,
I like that when you're. I like when you're in the middle of one of those outdoor workouts and you can just see shit rolling off you and you fucking
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Steam just coming off and there's like nothing more manly than just steam coming off of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Just imagine yourself as the Viking coming off the ship, getting ready to pillage the village.
And then your mom tells you to come in for dinner.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, dude. Martin and I have both been on your show a little bit, but why don't you give our listeners kind of the Reader's Digest version of Dustin and what you're doing and what brings you to this point?
So it's funny because initially when you had said in that email, give us the Reader's Digest, I thought I immediately knew what that meant because I remember the Reader's Digest. That was like classic bathroom reading back in the day, you know? And so I was like, oh, yeah, cool. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know, man, because, you know, being in the military, we're so used to doing bios. Is this a bio for a board? Is it a bio for an award? We know what type of biography is it? Then I was like, I don't think it's really a bio. So I guess my best answer for that, man, is I'm getting older, you know, and I for some reason started to try to learn from my mistakes years ago. And not suffer the same pains twice if possible. And I started working with some buddies here with different clothing brands and things. Most of them were kind of bodybuilders, but we were very like-minded as far as, you know, I was the lone CrossFitter of the group because that's the main thing I like to do. And they had their niches, big dudes flexing and clothing brands and, you know, like, yeah, iron. And I was kind of the older dude, this and that. And I would just kind of float like tidbits of kind of like wisdom out there. I would really reflect whatever I was feeling inside. I would find a meme, Jim Rome, you know, Jordan, lots of people out there with that stuff. And just something I was kind of thinking about or maybe struggling, I would find a meme or quote that reflected that. And I'd share it and tag those guys and they would. And my buddy Q from Dark Elements actually is the one that started the hashtag Caps Wisdom, which I was very insecure about at first. This was a couple years ago because I was like, who am I to be smart or wisdom retelling, suggesting anything to anybody, you know? But it kind of kept going. And then he, you know, we talked about it and he's like, why don't you start making kind of your own ones with your own pictures and this and that? And I started to embrace it more and was like, and I was getting good feedback. I would get positive feedback from people. Because that's one thing that I wrote down from your agenda that I'll get into later is, you know, we have a bigger impact on people than we realize. It's very easy for us to be insecure, self-secure, low self-worth, not think that we have any impact on this earth. But then you talk to people from time to time and they're like, man, just like the thing you said earlier about the garage. Hey, man, you really inspired me this week in the garage with the snowstorm. It's like, I don't know. I'm doing that, you know, and you hear that. And then down the road, someone would say like, how much impact you really did have. And you're like, dude, I had no idea, man. You know, like I thought I was just an idiot doing my thing, you know? And so for you to tell me how much that impacted you, it means a lot, man. It's humbling, you know, and it's kind of like, it's heavy when somebody tells you the impact that you have on them. And so I just, if I can keep you from stepping in the same pile of shit that I stepped in before, or if I can help you clean the shit off your shoe after you step in it, you know, then I think that's really at the end of the day the goal. I just made those analogies up, but I think that makes sense. That
I'm writing that down. I'm using that.
Yeah.
Make a meme.
Yeah. But I mean, that's really the goal, man, is to better myself, learn from everybody, and then teach what I can.
It's a curator of knowledge position.
Yeah.
You know, it's taking what you've picked up over how many years and just kind of putting it out there when you think people need it.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny too. Like I just realized a few weeks ago or so, the whole like wisdom thing and knowing a lot. It's like, man, I've failed and stumbled a lot to gain all this wisdom. So it's almost like the opposite of what you would see from the outside. Oh, so smart. The wisdom is like, no, I've just screwed up a lot and I paid attention.
Well, it's funny because anybody that is in any sort of position like that understands that you don't get to that position without those stumbles and without those screw ups. And it is odd coming from the other side, you know, when you were 20, 21, 25, and you were looking to the people that had the wisdom in your eyes, and you never thought of it like that. You didn't think of it as like, look at all the adversity this person has gone through. Look at all the shit they've stepped in. Look at all the mistakes that they have made to get to where they are. You were like, oh, this person is awesome. They're great at this and they're great at that. And they know all of this stuff. And it's like, man, that's why I try to put it out there all the time as you know, we all do, is like, man, this comes from pain. Like this comes from hurt, and it comes from, and I hate the word grind, but it comes from grind, and we're not talking grind like getting up and working at 5 a.m. We're talking grind like grinding your fucking head on the wall. Yeah. That's where that comes from.
And being secure enough, man. So many people, like with the whole instant gratification, we're kind of past that and evolved from that to never making mistakes and all the money and all the this and that, and only showing the solid stuff on IG and everything's perfect. It's like people are so insecure to show the failures, or when they look fat, like, dude, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, in the camera, and I'm like, dude, my face looks fat as shit. This is terrible. But that's real life. You know what I mean? That's how it is right now. And the failings, and to say, yes, dude, I screwed up. I tried, but I was brave enough to even try this, and then I failed. So I learned one way not to do it, and I'm going to try again. You know, like falling in, like Gary Vee and all the other ones, like falling in love with failure. The more you fail, the more you're going to learn, you know, and you can't be successful without failing first. You know, 9 out of 10 small businesses fail. You know, good old Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't know if you guys have read that book, or we've talked about it.
That's a good one.
That's a classic from back in the day. He's like, well, then guess what? You need to try 10 times to start a business and you'll get there. You know, I think maybe that's kind of some insecurities, being afraid to even try and fail and then failing. But people don't understand that, like, you know, the people that are really looking with an unbiased opinion that see that is like, you know, you shouldn't be upset with yourself failing, dude. You had the stones to step up and try.
Yeah. Most
people won't even try. You didn't lose. You learned, you know, like the whole win column, learn column. Like, you just learned, man. Good on you for freaking trying.
Yeah. We've talked to, go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking of that, because I know you're starting a knife company. How's that going?
Good. Actually, that was one thing that I was doing right before I jumped on. Another group I work with, Shady, they're going to do a blade. And then I'm working with the forge here that we actually had as a vendor in our last Hell of a lifting event. I ran into some troubles on my own trying to get the Caps OG blade designed, because I'm basing the blade off of kind of a K-bar look. And in the handle, I'm using 1911 pistol grips as the scales, which looks dope, man. It looks really good. So I did the blade, and then I got the grips, but I'm going to need a guard in there somewhere. You know what I mean? To stop your hand from going straight up. So I kind of ran into a block there because at this point, I don't know what I don't know. But I talked to them at Strout or Strope. I've been saying Strope, but that's wrong. Strout.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That leather, the leather thing that you sharpen on.
Yeah.
Strout, I guess. But they're legit forged to make gorgeous blades. I actually have one here. But they're going to welcome me into their forge and help me figure out how to finish the Caps OG blade. And then I'll do a run of probably about 10 of them.
Oh, so that's Caps OG blades? Is that what it is?
So it's Caps Forge is the name of that.
Forge, okay.
Yeah, but the first blade I'm going to do is going to be the Caps OG blade.
Awesome.
What are some lessons you picked up in that whole, I mean, this is all brand new to you, right? Like you haven't done this before.
Right.
So what's some things that you've kind of picked up in this new evolution of your next learning experience, I guess?
I think going along the theme of not being afraid to fail, of not being afraid to try different things, and knowing that they're going to turn out butt ugly, you know? So just a disclaimer with that, I'm not forging the billets or forging the blades to make them. I'm doing what's called stock removal. So I start with the billets of 1090 high carbon steel is what I'm using. And then I just grind them down to make the billets and then heat treat it, you know? But I think you get the billets, everything costs money, you know? And so you get this billet, it's like, oh man, 1090 high carbon steel, it's so cool. And then you're looking at the bench grinder or the belt grinder and you're like, you can be afraid or hesitant to start grinding, hogging off metal because you don't want it to not come out good, you know? Yeah. But being okay, it's like, hey dude, let's try it. Let's just see how this looks. Let's get a feel for it. Let's know that this one's going to come out but ugly, like something you wouldn't even take to prom your freshman year, and being okay with it.
So when you get those billets, are those already pre-shaped or are they kind of just like a rectangle that you have to even shape?
So it's a rectangle that you shape down.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, you take it to a bench grinder and then
I mostly use, I've got a 1" by 30 belt grinder that I use.
Oh, okay.
Is the best thing that I like for hogging that's a term we use. It's called hogging metal.
It's a term I picked up.
I do also have a bench grinder with the stones, but the belt grinder takes it off way easier.
Now, is that a freehand thing or are you using angle, alignment stuff or?
It's freehand.
Nice.
The only blade that I have here that was out, because I've got stuff in like boxes in 4 different states, man, and hundreds of knives just in different places. And I'm very much the type where I like to have a physical one that I can look at, I can trace, look, you know what I mean? Yeah. Smell, taste, all that stuff. The only thing I had out available actually was an AK-47 bayonet. So the first one that I did was a trace of that blade. Yeah. So I traced that on there, and then, but after that, just freehand.
Oh,
nice. I got done with the Jack Carr books, and he talks about the I'll have to link it after this is over, but the hammers, right? The hammers in the Jack Carr books, like, dude, those things are just they're awesome, and the way that James Reese uses them in the book, you're just like, I should have one of those, right? Like I should have one at my fucking house. So like I'm out and I'm looking at hammers, and I finally found this, like it's like an East Wing, right? East Wing, the really good claw hammers but it's an East Wing double-headed hatchet. So it's got a really nice hatchet head on each side. It's got good balance, and I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, all right, now what am I going to do here? And so I take the like a chalk pen, and I like made the back into like basically the point, right? Like the temple point. And I made the back into the temple point, and I'm out on my literally just like my fucking garage tools, and I'm grinding, and then I'm like, all right, now this is good like this. What else do I want? Well, I want a hook on the bottom of the hatchet side, yeah. Right? Like you got to have that sharp hook in case I got to fucking grab onto something,
Yeah.
And hindsight, the thing turned out pretty fucking sweet, and I used it to split pelvises after deer hunting. So
yeah. Those Jack Carr books are freaking awesome,
dude. I can't wait for the next one.
And then the series too. Chris Pratt is playing Reese in a series.
Yeah, Chris Pratt, after reading the books, contacted Jack Carr and bought the rights.
That's awesome. Those are really good books. That's
an awesome one. That's an awesome story to get into with failing, right? Because he wrote those books, and he went to I think Brad Thor was who he went to, and he went to Brad Thor and he's like, hey, like please just read this. And this is just the first book. And he went, and Brad Thor, God knows how long it took him to read it, but he read it, and then he went back to him and he's like, you got something, rewrite it 7 more times and then bring it back. Like, can you imagine? I spent all this time writing this fucking 400-page book, and then the guy goes, all right, on try 7, we're going to take it a little bit further.
And that's what a lot of people, that would dissuade a lot of people from continuing. They would accept defeat right there.
Yeah.
Most people. That's why most people don't succeed. As to where others is like, okay, that's better than having to do it 8 times.
Yeah.
At least I don't have to do it 7 more times instead of 14 or 21 or 28. That's the type of perspective that, and it takes practice though. I don't mean to rabbit hole this, but that's just kind of what it made me think of.
That's what we do.
Is all about the perspective, man. And it takes effort to change perspective. It doesn't change on a dime or a coin flip. It's like anything else. You want to get a big chest and do bench press and push-ups. If you want to get strong, you lift weights. If you want to become resilient, you practice mental resiliency through things.
Yeah.
It's not easy. That's why it's fucking called resilience, you know?
Yeah.
And just about the mindset of saying, okay, 7's better than 8. You know, I can do 7 times, and then doing it. Just simple things like that. People are too dissuaded. Even if they see a door, they won't even walk up to it to see if it's locked, let alone try to figure out how to get through it.
Yeah. Well,
which is just like, go ahead.
Same thing in the service, right? It's for sharpshooters, special forces. It's like, I think everybody expects that you're just going to be frozen for 10 years. And when you get out of that state, you come out and you're still this sharpshooter, dropping stuff at 1,000 out. And it's not that way. I mean, you're putting 1,000 rounds at a time in to keep it right.
Yeah.
Keep that muscle memory right. So
yeah,
it's like you said, it's repetition no matter what skill level you're at.
Yeah, I think.
And that's another one that I've been thinking about a lot lately is, you can't become the master without first being the fool.
Yeah.
That so many people think a fool is like an idiot. No, it's just you got to be a beginner before you can become a master. Every master started as a student somewhere. Everybody was a white belt. Every black belt started as a white belt that got his ass whipped. But people just want to go straight to the top, and they don't want the pain, the grind, the headbanging of getting there. And it's like again, I guess it's the insecurities and afraid of looking dumb or the failure or whatever.
I think it's the ego, right? Yeah. It's the ego that you do not have control of. And when the ego is sitting there and it's telling you, all right, you need to look, like you said, look cool, or you need to pretend you know what you're doing here. But if you go into a situation, especially like, let's say you get a half an hour with a master craftsman and you go in and it takes him, 20 minutes to figure out what you don't know because you went in there pretending like you knew more than you did, then you've wasted, 30% of your or 60% of your time versus going in there and just being like, all right, I know nothing. I need you to start at 0. You're going to get so much more out of that. But it takes a lot of control of the ego before you can do that.
Yeah.
But once you do that, it's so liberating now to where, because back when we were younger, we very much care what people think for some reason, even though they have no input in paying their bills. They have no sway in everything like that. It's like, why do we even care what people think? Because they're not helping me do anything. They're not lifting the weights for me. They're not cooking my clean meals. They're not going to sleep on time for me. They're not working. They're not taking care of my kids. Why do I give a shit what anybody thinks? When you realize that and you're doing things for yourself, it's so liberating. It's just like, it's a level of freedom that's amazing when you don't give a shit what people think anymore.
Yeah. And it's enlightening in so many different ways. Like, the Miyamoto Musashi quote, once you see the way in one thing, you see the way in all things. And once you're able to control the ego in new learning experiences, like learning to make knives or, learning to upload podcasts or whatever, like if you're able to start at that 0 level and you control the ego at that 0 level, then that all of a sudden manifests itself in every single pursuit after that, because you have learned to be the fool.
Yeah. You've embraced it. And this is something, Martin, I know you've heard all the time, especially with your background. And I'm trying to teach my boys now. And when you start with that perspective, you understand that I need to master the basics first. So many soldiers, and I'm sure, I've met the Navy guys and the Marines. They all want to be operators and cool guys and SEALs and Green Berets all the time. They think that they're doing this awesome, crazy stuff that they just want to learn. It's like, they're not, bro. They have mastered the basics.
Yeah.
through, like you mentioned, through thousands of reps, through blisters and calluses on every finger, through going dumb, doing the same thing and being zoned out and doing it, that muscle memory, knowing how to do it. They have become such a complete master of the basics. They've written 2 + 2 = 4 so many times. It's ridiculous that most people, again, aren't willing to do. That's what makes them better.
Yeah.
And so efficient. Just mastering the basics.
It's hilarious
exactly
because
right.
that's the entire podcast that's releasing tomorrow that we recorded last week.
Yeah.
The entire podcast
really?
is on the basics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because we get in such a hurry, I guess it's the younger mentality, and, you know, whatever purpose it's for, it can be well intended that I want to be better so I can help more people, or whatever the intention of it is, wanting to get to become the master quickly. It's like, you can't, man. You got to master the basics first.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. It's I think a lot of people from the outside see the highlights, and the highlights are 5%. I mean, you're deployed, but when you come back from deployment, you're training your ass off, and it's a grind, and it's a long process that it seems like Groundhog's Day. It is probably the best way.
But it is. They see the highlights or the montage.
Yeah, and it looks cool, but guess what? 95% of it is not pretty. It's not very cool at all, and it sucks.
It's not. It's a pain in the ass, and it is Groundhog Day. But again, you get so used to it that you're not thinking about the motions anymore. You got that muscle memory. Every train up we do, like the last one I was a part of last year was the one for Africa we did, in a team. Small team, 12-man team. But we started, like, we had the whole training plan developed, however many months out. But we started here with, hey, this range is qualification. This is on each individual. We're qualifying with the M4 and the 9mm. And then the next one is buddy team live fire. And then it's fire team live fire. Then it's squad maneuver. Then it's this. And it continues to progress. But it whole thing started, if you weren't qualified on your own weapon system first, you can't move with the team because you're not qualified. Doesn't matter if you just qualify. I think it's twice annually, once every 6 months or so, something like that. But it's like, hey, qual first, then buddy team, then 4 people, then squad, then company, then the big thing, then all the other cool stuff. It all starts with that first qualification.
Yeah. And that comparison muscle is damaging. That self-comparison, that 1 verse 50 or 1 verse 100 that we now see. Because if I'm in a room with 100 people, it's pretty fucking likely that I can find one person that's better looking than me, one person that's stronger than me, one person that's smarter than me, one person that's faster than me, one person that's got more money than me, one person's got a bigger dick than me, whatever. But those are all separate people, and I'm comparing myself to all of them as one person. So if I'm if I'm exercising that comparison muscle, I'm like, oh, there's somebody out there that has all this better than me. Yeah, but you're not looking at each individual person. You're not looking at you versus you yesterday. You're looking at you versus a fucking 1,000 people, and you're always going to be able to find somebody bigger, faster, stronger. Always.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But during that analogy, that's a great one. Finding somebody who's smarter, stronger, all those things, instead of comparing. What if I were to find that person that's more financially successful than me? Instead of comparing, what if I came up to you and I realized that was Paul? Like, hey, dude, how'd you make the money that you're doing? I'm trying to do passive, and learn from them instead of compare. You figure out Martin's the dude that's stronger than me. Hey, bro, my deadlift is weaker. How did you fix that? Finding these people that are better than you, to not compare, but to learn from.
Yeah,
and it's just a different perspective.
I think it was Frank Shamrock. I think Frank Shamrock has the the ahead, at, and below. He finds someone when he's going to train or when he's going to learn something, somebody that's way ahead of him, and he learns from them. He finds somebody that's at his level and he practices with them and moves forward with them. And then he finds somebody that's under him and he brings them up. Because if you want to learn something, the best fucking way is to try to have to teach somebody.
Yeah.
So I love that.
And I love, that's genius too. I love that. And that's right, man. And that was the fun thing about teaching and instructing that I liked about that aspect is, because you can't cookie cutter teach. People learn different ways. So to really get that across, it's fun when somebody's not understanding it, when they're trying to understand something that I'm trying to get across, but they're not getting it. I like that. I embrace to be like, okay, cool. It's a challenge. Let's figure it out. Then it's like, so what are you into? Because I always like to try to find analogies and comparisons. Okay, if you're in that, so what we're talking about here, this is similar to when you're skinning a deer, right? You know how you do this first. Well, that's the same as this. Oh, okay. And like, you know how you do this? Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Okay. You know how you made your own tool to split the hip? Yeah. Well, that's what we're talking about here. Oh, and then all of a sudden they get it, and that's fulfilling as an instructor or teacher as well for me.
Yeah. It's awesome to bring people along and bring people up to another level. Like it's rewarding as fuck.
And then when you learn something too from somebody, that person that's better than you, and you learn something from them, then it's like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Like, and now I have that, in my tool bag, my kit bag, whatever, my repertoire. And it's fun being excited to learn new things. Like that's something I never thought when I was younger, I'd be excited to be learning things.
So you got the Capp's Wisdom, you've got the Forge, you've got a lot of stuff going on. You got the live shows, you got the MCs. What are you most excited about right now? Like what are you wake up in the morning, you're like, God, I can't wait to do this.
So as you guys know too, and I don't want to try to get ahead, I don't know how structured we are and stuff, but
at all.
Hold on loosely. I'm retiring from the Army this year. So I've got about 11 months left till I'm like done, kaput, chucking deuces, starting my retirement process now. I was fortunate enough to find a business partner, very like-minded. She's very smart on the administration and business side. I taught the advanced situational awareness stuff, the predictive profiling that I think we've talked about. We're actually starting a company to teach our own curriculum of that and some other things. It's called the Caps Group, TCG. We've got the LLC for it already. We've got the webpage for it. We're getting the EIN, things like that, so we can start getting the merch and whatnot. But I think we have our first potential client contract lined up to start teaching those classes. So that's literally would be like my dream job.
That's awesome. What does that process look like to kind of put that program together?
The curriculum itself, you mean? So it's almost backwards planning type deal. It depends on who the client is and the audience that we're catering to. So she's a social worker by trade, and I taught them a few classes because I talk about it a lot in my stuff. And I'll be a student of predictive profiling the rest of my life. I love that stuff. The kinesics, nonverbal communication, all of that stuff is just fascinating. And so I talked about a lot, and she was like, hey, we could use a lot of those skills as social workers because a lot of us go out to lower income places, sketchy neighborhoods by ourselves. We don't have the people for it. Can you put something together for us? Absolutely, yes. So I put one together for them for the department heads. It went fantastic. They got it to for their employees because it went so well. So first, I always look at the audience that I'm going to be teaching and then design specific things, kind of plug and play what really is going to benefit you the most.
And you've got to be a master of the basics before you can plug and play.
Yeah. Yeah. And the great thing about this, when I first came across it, I was at Fort Benning. So almost 10 years ago now, I stumbled in this. I was supposed to go to combatives level 2, which is going to be cool. Go roll the map, bro. And they didn't have enough people around that class. I was like, oh, crap. But that dude was like, hey, do you want to go to ASTAT? What it was at the time. I was like, I don't know what that is. But yeah, of course, I'll do any school I can. Sat down, and within the first 10 minutes of class, I was like, this shit's awesome. The stuff they're talking about, because everything makes sense typically. Like it's nothing different. It's just putting the how and the why and the science behind things. And you're like, I've always done that anyway. Now I know why. And then it's like, that makes perfect sense. And that's why they do that and this and this. So I just totally fascinated from the minute I got into it. And the perfect thing about that for me is you can teach it, but you also remain a student. It's not like history or math or anything like that, where you're going to know everything about it. It's always evolving. It's always changing. There's always different perspectives because it's dealing with human behavior, and humans are freaking weird.
Yeah, no kidding. Second that one.
So, yeah. And it's great being the instructor, teacher of it, I not only get to share that stuff, which usually is very well accepted to people, I get to learn every day too. Yeah. I'm going to learn just as much from that class as I am teaching.
Is there like some bullet points, some high spot bullet points that you can throw out there with reading the situation, reading the people, stuff like that, to give some context to our audience?
Yeah, actually context right there. Context and relevance is one of the sub bullet points, but making sure things fit. But a general one with the nonverbal communication, once you know how to actually read what people are saying, it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of funny because we only communicate about 30% with our words. We're full of shit most of the time. So if you only listen to somebody's words, you're only getting about 30% of what they're saying. But if you are in tune with their body language and know how and what to read, you're going to get the full story. And sometimes you're not going to like what you're seeing because you get what people are really saying to you. And you're like, motherfucker, what'd you say to me? You know, they didn't say with the words, but they're projecting it, you know, but also times of just when it's great for sales. If you are trying to pitch somebody and you see that you're maybe losing a client or they're not doing good or they're starting to shift away from you, like, okay, let me change tacks or let me shut up sometimes or this or that. If you're hitting on somebody, you can tell if they're attracted to you or not. If you're somewhere and somebody's becoming aggressive towards you. So just being in tune and knowing how to read people in your environment is going to help you in every aspect of life, really. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I mean, and I totally get what you mean about like when you can kind of read more than what's going on, it could definitely be a gift and a curse, right?
It is. Man, when I finished the advanced level course, which is more of just kind of deep diving into a lot of teach backs of it, kind of preparing you to be an instructor, which is cool. We just finished that. So I was hot to trot on the stuff, right? I was all about it. And we had to do a work detail at the library next door and was helping this older civilian woman clear out desks and this and that. And I forget what it was, but I'm very much like, I'm going to be very nice to you. I'm going to treat you with respect, you know, until you don't tell me to treat you that way anymore with how, you know what I mean? And then it'd be like, okay, I'm going to, because we tell each other how to treat us by the way we walk, we talk, we act, what we say. We're telling people how to treat us. And this lady, I forget exactly what it was, but something. And she basically like did one of those. I was like, bitch, what'd you say? Like, and I'm a sergeant and like, I'm here to help you. I'm on a work detail, but like, bitch, I'm not a private. I'm not a dog. I'm a human being and I'm here. Yeah, my boss told me to be here, but I'm here to help you. You're not my freaking master that I have to slit like, you know, and then it's kind of like, and when people do that now, I'd love to put people in check subtly and they don't realize it. If they do something like that and be like, do you really have a good response from people when you talk to them that way? What do you mean? Because you basically just implied that I'm an idiot with how you said that. Does that usually get a good response from people? Well, I didn't mean it. You may not have meant it, but that's what you did. Do you want to try again? Yes, sir. Can you just, you know, then it's a whole different story when you can call them on it articulately and you're not a dick.
Yeah.
It's so interesting too, because everybody comes from a different zero baseline, right? And everybody has had a different hours of their morning leading up to when you interact with them. And sometimes something like that, you know, you can knock off a rough edge, you know, and it's like, hey, not necessarily you're going to say it, but like, hey, how's your day going? You know? Oh, I had the worst morning, right? And it's like, yeah, I could see that. We had some, you know, we had this issue here that we could cut with a fucking knife, and now we've cut it, and all of a sudden you're going to be their best friend.
Yes. Disarming or de-escalate. Disarming. When you can sense that when somebody's stressed, yeah, man, you bring up a really good point of just simply saying, Paul, how you doing, man? Like, not in a smart ass way, but like, you doing all right? And then that's all they needed, because you're being a human to another human for a split second. Takes no effort, you know what I mean? And then it's just like when you go into a convenience store, you know, and be like, hey, call the cashier by their name next time you go in, because they're always wearing name tags. A piece of gum, a Coke, a Bang, gas, whatever. Like, all right, hey, thanks, Phil. Have a good night, man.
Yeah.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Waiters and waitresses too, right?
Yeah. When you call somebody by their name, like I'm sure you guys have heard that years ago, but I started doing that. Just that little human connection means so much to people.
Yeah. So, you're like us, right? You're always learning. You're always picking up new info. You're always growing. What is your knowledge consumption look like? What's your preferred ways?
A lot of it, I do a lot of audiobooks. One, because it's easy. I drive to Alabama a lot. I'm stationed at Fort Bragg, and my kids are in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where I'll retire to. So it's about 9 hours each way. And pretty much every federal holiday, I'll do that every 4-day weekend. So lots of audiobooks. I love to read, but just with having a lot of things going on, and usually by the time that I get to having the chance to read, my eyes can do about 2 pages of the reading before I'm just like, oh man, I can't, like, let me just look at the stupid box for a little bit, look at the colors and sounds moving.
Yeah.
But I love the audiobooks. I'm not actually, probably shouldn't say this, but I'm not a huge fan of podcasts, even though I'm on one right now and I do my own stuff. I get it. I definitely get it. I have to be in the mood for them. But I actually just registered for a Dr. Jordan Peterson. We know Jordan Peterson. Yeah. His workshop basically is what it is. Have you seen that on IG?
Is it the writing one?
It's trying to figure my shit. I had to try to have my stuff together here.
He's got a ton of different of these kind of workshop type classes that he's put together. And a lot of them are like, 50 hours worth of education that he's kind of crammed into like a one educational, like, I guess you would call it a seminar, but he's got so many different ones that I'm not sure, some of them are religion, some of them are scholar, some of them, his newest thing that he's really on, if anybody listened to the 4-hour, him and Rogan most recent one is helping people write better, because if you can write better, it means you can think better. And if you can think better and write better, you're more able to get your points across to the type of people that you are trying to get your point across to. And it helps you become successful in everything.
You're becoming better at communication.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And so honestly, I haven't gotten to that. I just signed up for it, but this one's got like 5 lectures, and then it's like lifelong access to his extensive library, all of that stuff. But I do him, Joe Navarro. Are you guys familiar with Joe Navarro?
Sounds familiar. Where's he from?
So he is the kind of the situational awareness guru.
Okay.
The body language guy.
Gotcha.
And this was one of your questions too, like what do you like to reread every couple of years, things like that, is Joe Navarro's got a book. It's called What Everybody Is Saying.
Okay.
Fantastic book, man. He's a former FBI profiler. He's taught like the high echelon poker players, body language, CEOs. On one of my shows, actually, we talked about old Marcus Torgensen. One of the shows I had him on, Marcus and I went over Joe Navarro's 10 Commandments for being a competent observer of your environment. Is
that in that book?
It is.
Okay.
I've got books all over the place, dude. I don't think I have that one.
No, yeah, I'll link it in the show notes because I'm going to add it to my list too. Perfect.
This was one of my favorites. It's a great one to start off with, because there's a lot of, I get very weary now. Like I love Barnes and Noble, right? That's one of my favorite places to take my kids and everything. So I love looking at the section of that type of stuff, the body language, the profiling, this and that, and then things online, but you have to be very careful, man, very weary, because a lot of them are janky, I guess. They're just kind of like saying the same stuff over and over in the same way, to where as soon as you get any baseline knowledge in it, you're just like, dude, I get it, but you're saying it over and over and over and over and over. Those are great, man. I've got some other ones I'll grab in a second before we chime off. But just kind of look into what you're getting before you just buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Joe Navarro is a great starting point. And then to kind of go along on that other point, what do I like to restudy every couple of years? I always feel silly when I say this, but every few years, have you seen the TV show Lie to Me?
I have not.
No.
Have we ever talked about this? So it's on Hulu, I believe. There's 3 seasons, and I will watch that every couple of years to literally study and brush up on things, and even to put. Hey, I'll take notes during that. It's it's fun to watch. Plus, 85 to 90% of the stuff that he's using is real and legitimate.
Okay.
He's a deception expert, and he tells you what he's doing as he's doing it.
So is this fiction or nonfiction?
It's fiction. It's based off of real stuff, but it's a fictional show.
Okay.
Do you know Sam Roth? I think it's his name.
Doesn't sound familiar, but
He was in You'll Recognize Me. He plays the part perfect. He's such a prick. But it's great. And so just the pilot episode, the opening scene in the pilot episode, I'll tell people to YouTube this. Have you heard of micro expressions?
yeah.
Okay, so micro expressions, that's kind of an advanced thing once you get into it. You know, like we wouldn't talk about that in a beginning level nonverbal communication class, but it's a cool thing. And our Secret Service are experts in micro expressions. And it's exactly what it says. It's like a split second reaction on your face somewhere. Like that's obviously like way over dramatic, but it's going to be like a split second. You're going to see those. And that's obviously Matt will show a lot of clips of like to show all of our age here. Remember the OJ trial? Old Cato Kalin, when he was on the stand, somebody doesn't like the questions are being answered. They're going to do that. They're doing that to show their teeth, just like a dog is going to do that same thing. That's legit what it is. And then they try to cover it back up. You see that, or like the pulsating vein right here, or smile, or twitch. Those are micro expressions. And the opening scene, man, it's so great. He's in an interrogation room with this white supremacist dude, the bald guy, tattoos all over the place. And he's trying to figure out where the next bomb is going to be, right? And the dude's lawyer's in there, and he's like, my client's not going to answer any of your questions. And old homeboy's like, that's all right. He doesn't need to answer anything. I'm just going to ask him questions. He's going to tell me everything I need to know. And he does. He's like, is the next bomb on is that 34th and Jefferson? And he's watching the dude, and he's like, no, it's not there, because that's in a black neighborhood. That's a black church. You're not after black people, are you? Is it on, 38th and Vine? No. And then he's watching all these things. He's watching the indicators here, the pulse line here, all those different things. And the dude never says a word, but within 3 or 4 of the specific profiling questions, he gets the response that he was looking for through micro expression. And that's the intended demographic they want to target. And he tells the FBI right there on the other side of the room, he's like, that's where the next bomb is, like on blah, 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 88th and Blair, that's where it's at. And sure enough, it was. But through asking those specific questions, watching the micro expressions, he could see it clear as day. And he's telling you what he's doing. And then it shows snapshots of the different micro expressions, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Dude, now that you explain that, I swear to God, I've seen that. So I may have actually watched some episodes of that. It's old. Is it old?
It is.
Older? Okay. Yeah, I probably have watched a few episodes of it then.
Yeah. His name in the show is Kyle Lightman, Dr. Lightman. He's got the Lightman Group. The Caps Group may like that show a little bit. But it's great, man, because he's telling you what he's doing. And most of the stuff is legit things.
Huh. And that's on Hulu?
Yes.
Okay. Not on Netflix or anything, huh?
I'm pretty sure it's Hulu.
We got Hulu for the hand job tale or something. I don't even know what it was. It was awful. And we canceled Hulu immediately. We're like, this show sucks.
Hand job tale?
I don't know.
Something.
Is that your autobiography or what?
Yeah. It's
funny.
Calluses though, right?
Yeah.
No good. Looks like a well-used cat tree.
Oh yeah, man. It's rough.
Well, we're coming up on 45 minutes, and I got lunch with the family. I'm gonna go just look at these questions. Anything that we missed? I guess we missed a bunch because we went down so many rabbit holes. But what do you think your biggest failure in life has been, and what did you learn from it?
I was looking at my notes that I did too. There's a few, too many to name really, but I think the biggest one, man, that I'm regretful about is allowing my marriage to fail. I think, and yeah, it took both of us, but knowing what I did, just letting my partner down, through selfishness, I think, and just not trying enough, maybe. But another one is that I could explain on more is going to the military thing. I had a really hard year. One year I had just taken over the sniper section as a Fort Riley. I'm very excited to take the sniper section. Very cool. And so I went to sniper school and failed. And we didn't have enough time. I didn't have enough time to go back to school before we deployed to Iraq for the second time. And so failing that, and it was right at the end, back when they were doing it then, Martin, I don't know if you probably been through that course or something similar, but the main three graded things was the target detection, range estimation, or range E, and then the stock lanes.
Stock lane, yeah. And
it was the stock lanes that I failed. You pass the stock lanes, you're like home free. After that, it's just playing with cool stuff. The urban hide sites and shooting the, 50 cal, stuff like that. And I failed it, man. And I was supposed to be the guy in charge of these 2 sniper teams and to go back and stand in front of these guys and then to take them to Iraq was probably the hardest thing that I ever had to do, because I felt like such a failure and piece of shit and not worthy to stand in front of them and not worthy to tell them anything and having to still do that. And then also to going through the separation, you think you can't go through things, and you just got to show up. I guess it's not going to be easy. You may not know how to get through it, but just show up and go, start moving your feet a little bit. And that's one of my hashtags, is the 1 step, 1 rep at a time. A lot of times, man, my age I'm getting is just like 1 step, 1 rep. We're going to start moving, keep moving. It doesn't have to be fast. They don't have to be big steps, but just start moving, show up and move. It takes 0 skill and effort to show up.
Yeah, exactly. I still think I got you in a few years, don't I?
I think so. I'm 41.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Jesus. He's got you by like a decade.
Ah, man, we got to hang out more, man. We got to hang out more. I like this.
Oh, great. I'm the oldest guy on the block here. Thanks.
But a couple more things, though. I know that we're trying to wrap up. Success to you. What does success to you mean? There's obviously everybody's typically going to go to financial success first. But I think the way that I look at it now, and probably we're similar on this, is having financial freedom. And you see a lot of these guys, I forget the dude's name. I meant to look him up. Dan so-and-so, I think. He's, I know you guys have seen him on Instagram. He's always in these just blinging ass drip suits. He's an older guy, and he can be kind of harsh sometimes.
At Pina or something?
Yeah. I like him, man, because he's going to give you the no bullshit stuff. He's like, show me your friends, I'll show you your fucking future, and things like that. And he's like, you can't make change without coin. You can't make and it's sad but true. You can't make any changes without money, without having the money to do it. So I think having the financial freedom now to be able to do those things is the sense of financial success. And then being able to go on vacations when I want to, travel when I want to, getting stamps in the passport, experiencing life. It's not all about the mansions and the yachts and the boats, but it's about experiencing life in the nice ways, man. But also having the financial ability to try to implement and make change, because unfortunately it takes money to do that, But the main thing of success, and I think that we would all agree, is making those around you better. That's success. Making yourself better than those around you. I started a couple different times on the road to becoming a Freemason. I don't know if you guys have looked into that at all.
I haven't, but I'm curious.
So I haven't. I'm not claiming to be a Mason at all. I've looked into it. I want to start doing that. I need some more things to do. I'm not doing enough. But one thing that I really like, man, about their perspective is make yourself better, make your family better, then make your friends better, then make your community better, then your state better, then your country better, then the world better.
In that order.
Yeah. Because if you're screwed up, if you're not fixed, what good are you to anybody else? Get yourself, and it's kind of the same thing about get yourself qualified first, then buddy team live fire, then team live fire, then squad. Fix yourself, fix your family, fix your friends, fix your town, fix your state, fix your country, then fix the world. All starts with you first. You know, a good one I heard the other day was, how can you be a leader and tell people what to do if you can't clean your own fucking room? You can't clean your own house. How can you tell other people what to do? You know, like that book we've talked about, I'm pretty sure we both talked about it. Make your bed. Same thing. Wake up and make.
That's one of my favorite commencement speeches.
It's so easy and it's true because people want to overthink it. Oh, that's stupid. That doesn't mean anything. Well, to you, maybe it doesn't. To me, I get up and I make my bed and I feel good because I'm accomplished. That's great. That's an order. I try to leave a trail. I say try because there are days where shit happens, but I try to leave a trail of tidiness and clean, you know, behind me as I go along. We try to do our best for that. But those things, man, are some of the points I had on success. You will not hurt my feelings if you tell me to shut up. I'm just trying to get some of these notes in here that I had taken.
It's the little things, right?
Yeah, man.
Got to do the little things. Although Paul's got his wife trained to do all the little things. So.
Hey. It's called delegation.
Hence, well, she's delegated.
True.
That's why your favorite show is the Hand Job Tales.
That's right.
All right. Top 3 lessons from life, and then I'll shut up. One of them is don't expect anything from anyone. No one's coming to help you. And that's not wrong. Like, oh, don't expect shit from people. They're all bad. No, that's to say, like, don't expect anything from anybody. Like, they're not going to help you succeed. You have to succeed on your own first. You've got to lift the weights yourself. You've got to start to deal yourself. You have to go buy the clean food and make it yourself. You may have people help you along the way, which is great, man. If you're lucky enough to have a good support group of friends and like-minded people, that's fantastic. I'm very grateful and thankful for the ones that I have. But don't think that, like, oh man, as soon as I get a coach, that's when I'll get in shape. Or as soon as I get a dietitian, that's when I'll eat good. No, do the basic research on your own. Start something on your own. Start with what you think that you know first, and then learn as you're going. Don't expect people to make your shit better. You know what I mean? That's what I like too about Jocko. I think he's got one of them that's like, no one is coming to save you. No one's coming to help you. Get the fuck up and do it yourself.
Personal responsibility. It's kind of our number one thing we preach around here in these joints.
This is a big one too that I've started trying to implement again, because we're all humans, man. It's a work in progress. But a few years ago is living in the now, enjoying life. We spend so much time like looking forward to things and looking down the road and being excited for this when it's happening that you overlook the here and now, what you're doing, who you're with, where you're at. And just live in the now, live in the moment, enjoy what you're doing, where you're at, who you're with. And like we talked about, be a good person. You know, be nice to people, not because you're weak, but because you're fucking strong. You're strong enough to be nice when you may not feel great, but you're exuding that and you're sharing that around you. You know, like you don't know how much, again, impact you have on Tim in the gas station when he went in to buy a can of Copenhagen, and all of a sudden the dude stays great. And then the impact that he has because you had the impact on him. And then this is one that I'm really liking lately that I've implemented for myself is just, I think, Paul, you said it at the very beginning of the show that we all are, is being a student of life. Being open, secure, humble enough we can learn from everything, everyone, all the time, if you're open to it. And that's not to say like, oh, you should always have your notebook, this and that. No, but just be in tune. Again, that goes with living in the now. Be open to learning when you can. And like if you said, like Martin, you liked the analogy I used earlier, I think about the stepping in shit and cleaning shit off. Yeah. You know, you learn something. It's like, hey, man, I'm going to write that down. But you being open to those things and be like, you know, I always take notes. I got my notebooks from the shows that we've done. I took some notes from this. I love learning things when I wouldn't expect it. Start playing games with it, seeing what you can learn today, and then share it with someone, like your wife or your kids or whatever. But it's fun, man. It just fucking life is short. You know, luckily we're not as old as Martin here, but
I'm as old as dirt, man.
Dude's got his casket on layaway already.
Genuine curiosity.
Yeah, man.
Genuine curiosity is an amazing thing.
So
awesome. Well, I think that is a wrap, dude. I am going to hang this up and then we will wait for it to upload. Thank you again, dude. I appreciate everything.
Thank you for the invite, man. It's been a lot of fun. Hope I didn't talk too much.